expression I've said that many years, not my will but thy will, but just having a
Oh
true
yeah, we've all said
revelation.
that.
Yes.
We've all said
A
that.
true revelation of, you don't know what the next 5 minutes is.
Right.
My revelation was the other night, Sunday, when I was reading one of the chapters, I think it may have been chapter 10, I was like, I could have written this book. There was just something that I read a sentence and I thought, I could have written this book. I mean,
It was so pointed.
yes.
And that was the, I love the chapter, the Me Too chapter, because that made it so, it included all of us, didn't it? It pulled us all in to the
I
fact
think that
that,
had been the chapter I was reading.
is that we're all in this, we're all facing the same struggles. We're not unique. We're all struggling with the same things. And thank you, Teresa. Yes, I think that's true. Yes.
I learned last year at the Vineyard to ask God to be totally engaged in my life every day. And so there's not a day goes by that I don't talk about this book, about the whiplash, the stop. And I was just, talking before, and I was saying that, my issue now with code had a wall up for 6 years, and now they want me to possibly tear it down. They're coming today to decide, and I'm like, God, there's so many other things I've been through. This is just a nothing. This is a nothing. I mean, I've learned that through this book that, what? It's no big deal. It's just a wall. Be in the hospital. It's just a wall.
Exactly. Yes, exactly that. Like, hey, what's the big deal? So I lose that parking space at the somebody pulls in front of me. Give it to them. I could be in the hospital dying of a terminal disease, and I'm not.
Decision about a wall.
Yeah, let it go. Don't struggle with those things. Don't hold it. We rearrange so much of our life and go in the wrong direction so many times because we're emotionally driven. Instead of saying, God, I just surrender. I don't know what you're doing. I got your tread marks on me. And that's what I loved about Yvonne Sanchez's book, Fingerprints, is she says in there that, sometimes, I don't remember how, I think it's in the foreword of the book, but that, sometimes you see God's footprints on your back, because you feel like God has walked on you, but that's a good thing, is that you've surrendered your life, you've laid your life down so that God could pass over you. And, I don't know, we all like to talk about that in theory, but we really don't want to live it. We don't really want to live it. It sounds very nice for you. I want you to have that gift. I want you to have that. But, really when we surrender, and, the authenticity of surrender is, you just have to be authentic. You have to be open. You have to just say, man, I have really screwed up in a lot of areas of my life, and, I'm just not going to screw up things anymore by being prideful, being selfish, being arrogant, any of those things. I'm just not going to go there. Not going to do it. Yeah, Ron?
For me, I've always been a planner, self-reliant, in control of everything, and
How's that working for you?
it's not. I had the illusion that it was working for a long time, but it's not. And when I finally let go, it's just, this plan is so much better. It's so much better than what my little brain can think of.
Yes. Yes. When Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, I thought about this just now when you said this. And he said, Lord, not my will, but thy will be done. He didn't come to God. He didn't come to the Father and say, look, I have a better idea.
Yeah.
He was humble in that, and we're pretty self-arrogant in the sense that, how many times have you suggested to God how things should roll out?
I don't have that many fingers.
You don't have enough fingers? When we've been in that pinch, and that fear, we start telling God how we think things should be, instead of saying, not my will, your will be done. I surrender. I let go. I because I know, this is what I know, is that nobody is ever going to love you the way the Lord loves you. Nobody. Nobody. Only God. Dawn?
I'm still trying to figure out plan B.
You won't. I'm gonna help you.
Put one foot in front of the other sometimes. That's all you can do in plan B. You know, sometimes like-
it's a constant whiplash.
it's a constant whiplash. And like Albertine said, you know, you want to know what God's doing. And sometimes it's just a trusting issue.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna be transparent. Yesterday I was on my way home and I was talking to God because, you know, I have to have a occasional come to Jesus with Jesus. And I was talking to him and I said, and I've been doing this, Pastor Daddy, one foot in front of the other every day. Is this working? I mean, I was just crying out to him because that's it. That's literally all I have is to pick one foot up and move it. And I have no idea, and that's the hard part, because like Deb said, he used to kind of have an idea and plan, and this will happen, and this, if that happens, if this is a reaction, if that's not, I'll do this, but you plan for whatever the reaction is, whatever you plan for. And all the stuff that you don't plan for, you don't have a reaction for. You don't know if you need to bring water or baking soda to put out this fire. You don't know, so I get it.
Yeah, but you know what it does? It moves us closer to God, doesn't it?
Right.
Doesn't it make us be totally dependent upon His presence? Because when you're in His presence, everything's okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the house can be burning down around you, but if you're in His presence, all is well. Peace. There's peace. And so the point is that we have to stay in that presence. If we remove ourselves from it, we're in a dangerous area. Somebody else. Deidre? Come on, Fireball.
I mean, particularly right now, I'm at a point in my life where God's willing to tell me part of the plan, but I don't really want to ask those questions because I think I know the
You
answer.
get an answer.
And I don't like the answer. So I've just kind of been trying to
Ignoring
avoid
it.
it, but you really can't avoid God. You know, but I mean, I know He's faithful, and the truth is I should be dead many times over, and so, you know, it's perspective. It's like, you know, yeah, it might be raining today, but at least I'm here to see the rain, you know, whereas it could be a lot worse. And just to look at that in perspective, like, you know, 5 years from now, am I going to remember this? You know, like the other day I got stuck behind a bunch of floats. I hate, you know, Mardi Gras traffic. And I'm like, okay, I'm like 5 years ago, I'm not going to remember this. You know what I mean? And God has a reason for me not getting to my destination the time that I wanted to get there. You know, so it is about giving up control.
Surrender.
Yeah, surrendering.
It's the S word. Yeah, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. How about you girls?
Well, I'm just excited to know there is a plan B because I really didn't know there was going to be another option for me. And but I was a meeting planner when I was in corporate America, so I always had things planned out like years in advance. You know, I walked around with my agenda in my purse, and I could look at a month, and I have every date filled in of what I'm going to do for the next 6 months in advance. So it's really hard, but there's a great sense of peace that I'm finding with just giving it over. So that's what I'm working on, just staying focused and giving it over and just going day by day and just learning as much as
You know, we don't have those organizers. I remember them selling them for like $200. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They gave you all the plans on how to do this.
Frank
Paper.
Cole,
It was paper. Okay, it was just paper. It was $200 for this book. But, you know, we don't use those paper organizers anymore, but it's our phones. You know? And I mean my phone, and so Friday reality is, girls, we really need to let go and let God. Just let go and let God. Let God be who He is in our lives. And so, peace, peace, peace to our streets, peace to our heart, peace to our minds, peace to the path that we take, the journey that we go on. Christina?
Mine is me too. Me too. I remember when I first moved here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have fellowship, and I didn't have a church, and I didn't know people. And finally, I heard about women wanting wisdom, and this was like probably 4 years ago now. And starting relationships with different women and hearing that they're going through different things as well. Because I was just starting to have marital issues and going through a separation. And, and to hear that people were going through divorce or having same issues, it was like, wow, it's just not me. You take the focus off of yourself and realize that there's other people, there's other women that you can fellowship with and talk with, and you guys encourage each other. And so each chapter of this book, I'm just like, yeah, me too. Wow. Oh. Really? Uh-oh. This whole book is an encouraging book, and it seems like after each chapter, I'm like, me too. Me too. So it's amazing. It's amazing. No, I was done.
What page are you on? What page?
About false reality.
What is it? What page?
Page 127, about false reality. And it says, why the emphasis on authentic? Because I'm convinced that it's largely our inability to be authentic or real with each other or ourselves that makes it so difficult for us to recognize the gift of community that God offers us.
Yes.
The culture we live in today sets up so many expectations for what success looks like. Our Christian communities institute standards that no human being can live up to consistently. So what do? All too often we hide. We pretend to be something we're not. We immerse ourselves in false reality. We may fake it until we make it, pretending to be a winner even though we suspect we're not. We may cover up our hurt and pain by escaping into addictive behavior, or we may just get in the habit of not letting anyone, including ourselves, know who we really are or what we're really struggling with.
So true. So true, because we make up our own fake reality. We have the way we present ourselves. We present ourselves a certain way so people can look at us and go, oh, wow, look at her. Isn't she a beautiful Christian? It's like with the stained glass windows at the church. Oh, isn't she a beautiful painting?
And then what I think happens with that, God wants us to be open because like the book says, and we're created for community and relationship. And then one person can help the other. But if you come into a place where everybody seems like they're already put together and there's nothing wrong, then that's another spirit of condemnation that the enemy uses. Look at it's just you.
Right.
You're not struggling with that. You should be over that. You've been hearing the word for this amount of time. That shouldn't bother you. You're a Christian. You shouldn't worry about relationships or family or finances because you should believe in the word and that's it. And so we just begin to condemn ourselves instead of opening up saying, you know what, today I'm struggling. I need to go into a secret place with God because you know what, I don't have any direction. And I think because of that deception, it's a part of us prolonging a plan B, so to speak.
Well, I went out with this guy one time, and but sometimes God can bring you messages through some of the most unusual people that you would never think you could learn anything
personality is the perfume that you wear, but your character is what you really smell like. And what do we smell like? Take the perfumes off and let it be what it is. And we cover up, basically, is that we cover up who we really are. And guess what? Plan B still happening. You can cover all you want. It's still moving on. You know, the world, God's not going to wait for, oh, let's everybody just stop letting everything gravitate because Albertine's not, she thinks it's not going to happen.
Right. Saturday, actually it was Friday afternoon after I left my phone at home, I told you. I got home Friday night and I looked at my phone and I noticed I had a voicemail. And it was from a friend of mine that I've known 35 years. And at one point we were roommates. She actually rented, I owned a home and she rented one of the rooms in the house. And so we have been lifetime friends. I was her maid of honor in her wedding. And so we have a long history. And she lives on the North Shore. We rarely see each other unless we make a decision to journey, to take a picnic lunch and go somewhere. But usually it's, we just don't get together. But she was coming out to La Place for the day, and so she said she left a voicemail. She said, "I'd really like to see you. Could we have a cup of coffee?" I thought, oh, I got so excited. And because, this is a friend of decades. This is a long-term friend. And, we've been with each other for a long time journeys. And, our lives are intertwined. And so it was great. I was excited about her coming over. So when she got over she called the next morning, "Yes, I'm coming and I'll be there about this time." And she said, "You want to meet me?" I said, "Why don't you just come on over to the house and, I'll make some coffee here." And it was cold on Saturday, so we were making a big pot of soup. And, so I said, "Come on over to the house, just come on out." So she came over to the house and we ate and visited and laughed. And so Jerry went off to do his thing. And we sat there at my kitchen table and drank coffee and laughed. And then it got to a place where she just started sharing things that were taking place in her life. And we sat there and laughed together and cried together and said we didn't understand what God had done, what he was going to do, why he had done this. And, but that we would go on trusting God, and we were going to believe that, we were his children, and that this was just a test. And but the amazing part about it was everything that she said, I've lived. Everything that she was, going through, I'm going through. And it's that Me Too moment where you're sitting there going, seriously, I'm not the only one that this is taking place in, whose life it's happening in. And so I was telling her about the book. I said, "You've got to get this book. It's called Plan B." And so she looked at me and she goes, "Kathy," she said, "what is Plan B?" And I said, "Well, that's the whole point. You don't know." You just have to give way to it. You can't figure it out. Because see, even if God gave us the Plan B and put it in an envelope, we couldn't leave it sealed. We'd have to be opening it and figuring out how we could make it better. Letting it go. Yeah, let me tweak it here and tweak it there, and I'm going to make it look like this, and it's going to look like that. But you know what? Plan B is surrender. Plan B is surrender. And you have to surrender to his, what? Look,